Hey guys, Fish Madness continues with this yellow fella. I will take you through the entire process from sketch to color, shading, lights, texture and details. I'm working on 9 by 9 inches canvas. If you want to learn more about size, jump over to my free post on Patreon. Also, I've left some tech details in the description below the video, so check it out. We will start with the sketch. I'm using the dry ink brush, but feel free to use any brush you like. I've put the final sketch up here in the corner so you can see where we are going. But you can make any shape or kind of fish you want. Here are also a few tips for inspiration, maybe for your next drawing. These, along with some practice sheets, are waiting for you on my Patreon. Now, draw a basic shape of your fish. I like a thin, longer nose. Then there will be fins. And maybe short tail. And a big eye for extra cuteness. This won't be a part of your final drawing, it's just a guideline so you don't have to be precise. If you find yourself struggling with sketching, you can grab this outline from my Patreon, pop it into your Procreate and jump straight into the coloring stage. If you need to adjust placement or size, use the arrow up here. If you want to learn more ways to change size and shapes, check out my free post on Patreon. Create a new layer for a background and shape it below the sketch. Select some bold blue color. Your yellow fish pop up better. You can change it later, of course. I like one charcoal from the charcoal group for such a flat background. Draw a circle and add darker bottom. For fish, you can find on my Patreon the entire color palette for download into your Procreate, but you can go with your own colors, it's really up to you. Lower the opacity of the sketch layer. Create a new layer below the sketch. Select a yellow color, tap on lasso tool up here. Drag the pen over the sketch. This is a very quick way of coloring. Then tap on the blue dot to fill the shape. Turn off the sketch and fix the shape using medium airbrush from airbrushing group. Draw a round line and hold your pen for a while on the screen. You get more precise shape. This is your base, so pay attention to it. Turn on the sketch. Don't forget to name your layers. This one will be the body. Now create a new layer below the body and name it something like Big Fin. Color the fin and tail. Feel free to use the lasso tool again if you want. Also draw the bottom fin. Back to the body, create a new layer above and top clipping mask. Now your drawing will only appear within the body shape. Select a darker yellow and add shading using a large brush. Use the magic wand and Gaussian blur. Drag your pen to the right on the screen to blur the shade, just a bit. Lower the opacity to soften it. Do the same for the fins and tail. Create a new layer, tap clipping mask, and add shading there too. Now create a new layer below the sketch and name it Eye. Using a smaller brush, draw a nice round shape for the eye. Turn off the sketch and fix any gaps if needed. Next, add shading under the eyes, create a new layer above the body layer and select black. Draw a stronger shade around the eye, extending towards the eyebrow. This adds more dynamic to the face shape. Turn off the sketch again. Fix the eyes if needed. Feel free to make any adjustments along the way and jump between layers as you need. Go back to the shading layer and soften it using the eraser. I prefer drawing stronger lines or shapes and then erasing to get to desired look. Now for shading inside the eye, create a new layer above the eye layer and tap clipping mask. Select the dark gray and gently shade the edges. Use the eraser to soften it. I like to play with details, so create a new layer below the eye and use a noise brush from the materials group. Draw a thin line around the eye. Create another layer above and select a very bright yellow. Draw another line above the dark one and add highlights here too. For many details and parts of the drawing, I use separate layers. It makes editing and changes much easier later on. Use the eraser a lot. Pay attention to details and add more highlights whenever you feel it's right. I need to move this layer lower. Be sure you have the clipping mask here. Back to the eye, create a new layer and tap clipping mask. Select black and medium airbrush. Draw the black pupil. Use the arrow tool to fix the placement or shape if you need. Create a new layer above, select bright orange and use the noise brush. Add a touch of color to the pupil. Then add even a brighter color with a small brush size. And touch of white. In a new layer with the medium airbrush, add a white dot. Maybe bigger one. And another very small one here. Use a large brush size to add overall light here. Now let's add more details to the face. Turn on your sketch. Create a new layer about the body. Using a dark color, draw a shade here. Turn off the sketch and use an eraser to soften the shading. Add another shading on the new layer. Using those multiple layers, you won't erase or damage other parts of your drawing. Move with your shade layer above the highlights. Now create a new layer above and use the noise brush for more details. Draw with a darker color. Create a new layer for another round of highlights. Draw along the dark lines and on the edges. If you like it so far, definitely check out the tutorial for this pink lady. You can tap right up here or find the link in the description below the video. Go back to the shading layer and use the medium airbrush to add more shading. Jumping between shade and highlights gives you great control over the final look. Create a new layer directly above the base shape. Using bright yellow and a nose brush, at a large size, add more light here. Now back to the fins. Create a new layer above the fins and draw with the bright color on the edges. Create another layer, select a dark color and draw with a small brush size a few lines over both fins and the tail. Add a stronger shade on the inner edge and play with the shape. Now draw white highlights along the dark lines. Go to the base fin shape and using the eraser, erase the edges a bit to make them slightly transparent, like real fins. This is a really amazing effect, especially if you add some background, sea plants, bubbles or whatever you want, so you can see through the fins. Now the eyebrow. Create a new layer at the top and select the dark color. Draw an eyebrow above the shading. For more shading, create a new layer above the body layers. Draw both shading and highlights to make the shape nice and round. Create a new layer and use the even brighter color. Here is a trick for a really shiny effect. Tap on the N here and select the Add option. Use the eraser to soften strong parts and draw a line along the entire shape. Do the same here for a really round effect. With a small brush size, draw some thin lines. Try using different brush sizes and really dive into the highlighting. Do this for the fins and tail too. Create a new layer above the fin and set the Add option. Draw gentle highlights on a few parts. We don't use the clipping mask here because these highlights would disappear in the transparent parts and we want to make the fin really shiny. Now the side fins. Create a new layer on the very top and use a medium airbrush. Turn off the sketch and fix the shape and placement if needed. Create a new layer below and using black, draw a gentle shade around the top of the fin. With the bright color and the noise brush, add highlights. The point is to create the feeling that the fin grows from the body. Back to the fin. Create a new layer above and tap on clipping mask. Select a darker color and draw lines across the fin, also with white, just as we did for the big fins and tail. Create a new layer above and tap on clipping mask. Using the medium airbrush at shading and also give it a brighter touch. On the base of the fin, gently erase a big part. Now match all fin layers. Just slide them together with your fingers. Then tap on the layer and copy. Tap on the background layer, then on the tube up here, and add and paste. Here is the fin. Fix the placement. If you want to change the angle, select the freeform option and hold your pen on the blue dot for a moment. Play with the sheet. This fin needs shading too, so draw it in a new layer above. Now we are going to add some texture. Feel free to use any brush you like, maybe try a few to see the results. Create a new layer above the highlights and shading and tap clipping mask. I'm using my custom brush, you can grab it on my Patreon. Pick a darker color. Play with the shape and try using the wrap option here. You can also try using the magic wand and liquify option with push setting. You can literally push the shape. Feel free to explore other options too. Your texture should follow the round form of the body. In a new layer, I want to add more of those dots with the bright color. This is a great time for your creativity. If you want to change the colors, use the magic wand and the very first option. I'm happy with the colors now. If you are too, merge those layers. Slide the layer to the left and tap duplicate. Make the bottom one a bit darker and move it slightly to give more plasticity, like the texture is rising from the skin. Amazing, we are done! Now try this pink fish or jump right into the bubbles drawing. Don't miss other fun tutorials and much more on YouTube and Patreon. See you there!